So on Monday we established the importance of understanding your nature and engaging in activities according to your nature that inspire you, engaging them in Krishna's service, because if you do that, you will be very inspired all the time. Yes? That was the conclusion, that inspiration is a fire within you. And if you're looking for inspiration outside of you, it's probably because you're not connected to what is inspiring you as a person, or what would or could inspire you, according to your nature. And so, yesterday, we spent the whole day doing some work to discover our nature by answering many, many questions that caused us to reflect on what do we like, what are we attracted to, what kind of people are we attracted to serving? Is it poor people, children, educated people, people in need of this or that? What problems do we see? What abilities do we have? What did we always like to do when we were a kid? What would we regret not having done if we were to die tomorrow? What would we like to tell our spiritual master we've done? And so today, we're going to put that all together and form a mission, a statement, put it into like one sentence. That kind of becomes your life mission. How many of you weren't here yesterday? Raise your hand. You were here. No? Yesterday. Not here. If you weren't here yesterday, we're not. 1, 2. You were here? No. No. If you were not here yesterday, please raise your hand. I need to count because we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4. So, Prabhu, don't leave. We need to print 4 more of each of those tests. We need, let's say, 5 more of each of what the handouts from yesterday. What? And we need you to print out. We need 5 more printouts from yesterday of each of those. Yeah. Can you do it right away? Yeah. Bhishma department or something, or ask Dharma. So, if you weren't here yesterday, when we start our work, it's not going to be relevant to you because you didn't do the exercise. So, but I think the best thing for you will be, is he's going to print out the exercises and then we'll give them to you, and you can just go in the back while we're doing our thing. You can do those. And basically we spent about 3 hours yesterday doing them. And so you're going to do them with a partner because it's very introspective. You're thinking about many things in your life. So you'll do that exercise as long as it takes you. I think that'll be more beneficial than... It's kind of like, yeah, we've just done a cooking class and we're on desserts now. So better you learn how to cook the main meal. So when it comes, we'll give it to you. And then for now, you can... So what we did yesterday is we answered about 40 questions that would help us learn more about ourselves or confirm what we already knew. And we tried to take that information and relate it to something that we would like to do in our life, something we're passionate about, something that could be what we would call our mission. So now we're going to just talk a little bit about mission so you can understand how to take everything that you gathered yesterday and turn it into mission. And I once heard there was a man who was a businessman and he was a Christian, And his mission in life was to teach 1,000 people, or help 1,000 people become millionaires who would all give $1 million to their church. So it's one sentence. That was his mission. That's what his whole life was dedicated to. My mission in life is to create 1,000 millionaires on the condition that each millionaire will give $1 million to their church. So that's an idea, right? We could have other examples of mission, which we already have, to create an educational institution that would facilitate every devotee in ISKCON getting a Bhakti Shastri. So if this were like 1985, that wasn't happening. And if you took this class in 1985, that could have become your mission. So, but that's a general mission. So then you have to get specific about how would you do that. So that we'll do next. First you get a general mission. My mission is, or maybe Krishna Kirtan's mission might be something like to open an ashram for single women, or nunacharis, something like nunacharinis, brahmacharinis, women who don't need to be married or found out after being married that it didn't work for them and they'd rather be single. So that's her mission, let's say. Her mission's something like that. And then later on she's going to have to figure out, what does that mean practically? So how does that start? Maybe to open a ashram in Vrindavan, or maybe her vision is in every country there'll be an ashram for single women, or something like that. So we'll go from general to specific. And then yesterday we mentioned the idea of what would if your life could be any way and you were going to write a book, what would it look like? So in doing your mission, a problem that comes up is you have an idea of something you want to do, but you can't think practically how to do it. So the idea of the mission is that to not think practically. After we do the mission, then we'll work on practical. Because practical means it could take you your whole life, or maybe you're going to hand it on to other people and you're just going to set the foundation. But so your mission, let's say your mission is to establish brahmacharini ashrams for women who prefer not to marry in every major country of the world. So that's your mission. You don't have to do it in this life yourself, but that's your mission. And so maybe your first step in your mission is to find somebody who's in line with you, who's 30 years younger than you, who could actually carry the mission out. So you'll get to do that later. But if you think like that in the beginning, then you're not going to make that your mission, because you'll think, well, I couldn't do that in every country. Right? He's going to bring it? Yeah. Okay. So, many people would say, I've always thought about doing this, or I would love to do that, but they don't do it because they can't see practically how to do it. So this exercise is not to look practically. This exercise is just to take the information from yesterday's work and create a mission, my mission. And it's very general, and then we can work specifically. But at least, if somebody asked you, what do you do? This is going to be the answer to your question. You don't say, I'm a teacher. You say, I'm creating leaders of the future. That's what you do. So it's not a job. It's not, what's your mission? To become the CEO of Brahmacharinis Incorporated? No. What is my mission? My mission is to facilitate women who want to remain single by providing everything they need, education, facility. So that's what your mission is going to say. It's what you do. Like some people ask me what I do, and I say what I do is I help people think. Because if I analyze all the work I do, basically that's basically my mission, to help people think. Because people don't know how to think straight anymore. So it could be as simple as that. What's your mission in life? My mission is to help people think. Well, how are you going to do that? Then the next stage, I'm going to form an educational organization to teach classes which give people clear intelligence about whatever it is. Does that make sense? So, have you ever heard of this thing, the elevator talk? Elevator talk is, somebody says, what do you do? And you're in an elevator. You know, you're only going to be in the elevator for like 20 seconds. So elevator talk is, in 20 seconds, you have to tell them what you do. So let's say you've seen this huge problem in the Grihastha ashram. That so many people are unhappy in the Grihastha ashram. And you have a mission which is to help marriages become successful. So somebody says, what do you do? What's your mission? My mission is to make marriages successful. That's what I do. Well, what organization do you have? You can do it in a million ways. You can write books, you can have a TV show, you can do seminars, you can do online courses, you can do counseling. That's secondary, but your mission is to make marriages successful. Does that make sense? So your mission, it could be one sentence, it could be a few words. Or it could be a very long sentence, or two very long sentences.
So we should generalize our mission.
Specific, yeah, very specific. Generalize, and it doesn't have to be practical. The practical will come after, how you're going to do it. The mission is also for you, where the inspiration comes for you is why you're doing it. Like, why does Krishna Kirtan want to do an ashram for women? Because she sees there's some women that just are not meant to be married. That's the way they were created. It won't work if they're married. And there are women that understand that, or they will understand that after getting married. They'll understand it. And they are happy to live a renounced life. So that's her why. Why are you doing that? Because I see. Why do you want to help the Grihastha ashram? Because I see the problem. Right? So in writing your mission, you want to be connected with why. Why is this important? What's the inspiration? Why? Why do you want to be an educator? Maybe your mission is cow protection. So you have a very strong why, because you see the future of the world and you see what's happening to cows. Or your mission is sustainability, because you see the future of the world. And your why is that we're destroying the planet, and if we don't do something, our grandchildren are going to inherit a horror story of this planet. And people predict, just as a side point, people predict wars in the future are going to be over water. Water is going to be the big thing. Water shortages. Isn't that interesting? We're destroying the planet to such a degree. Oil wars will be a thing of the past. Water wars. So let's say you see this. That's a big why, you know. Or my mission is to establish prasadam businesses or a chain of bakeries or something. Why? Because I see there's so many that natural foods are becoming more and more popular, and if we have land and grow the food and make it, we can employ many devotees. They won't have to work in the cities. They can live on the farms. Your why is the why behind it is where the passion is. The why is a problem. You have a problem that you're solving. That your mission. When you read your mission, it's a solution to a problem. Does that make sense? Your mission is a solution. And there's a problem out there that you see, and there's a problem that resonates with your nature that you can solve. Does that make sense?
So everybody sees the problem.
No,
Everybody sees,
not necessarily.
not everybody concerned about it.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes people don't even see it, but if everybody sees it and not everybody's concerned, it's because it doesn't resonate.
But also we should have some support, some ability, some quality.
Yeah,
All these do
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. It should resonate with your nature. So, okay, it's a good question. She's asking, it should resonate with your nature. Yes and no. Because, let's say, Krishna Kirtan wants, her mission is to establish ashrams everywhere around the world. But her nature is not to manage. Her nature is to teach. Or her nature is to take care. So what she understands, she has to find someone to manage it. Her nature is not to fundraise. She's not good at fundraising, let's say. She's going to have to find somebody to fundraise. So, like Steve Jobs started Apple, but he didn't have a technological background. He's a creative person. So he had to hire people that could carry out his vision. So that can be done also. So, like Steve Jobs is a creative person, so creating Apple products, it worked. It's just he couldn't practically do it. So, let's say you're a very compassionate person, and so your solution to a problem is going to require compassion, but you're not a manager. That's okay. There should be some resonance there. Like, I'm a teacher, school. I don't want to be the principal. I want to be the visionary behind the school. I want to create all the courses. I'm going to train the teachers. I may train the teachers. I don't even want to teach. I just want to create the curriculum. That's what inspires me. I hate teaching. I love creating curriculum. But this problem, I'm passionate about solving. So you're passionate about solving the problem, and then in some way, I would think if you're passionate about it, it resonates with some of your nature in some way. So you just find other people to do other things. I have a company, and they're always asking me, well, what do you think about this and that? And I'm not expert in those areas. So I just say, find someone who's expert, ask them. This is my vision. As long as you can keep in line with the vision, other people can do it. So usually, within your mission, you'll have some vision. This is the picture of it. And that's why we don't want to think too practically now, because then you might get confused. Yeah. Or it could be another way. You're passionate about, let's say, establishing goshalas all over India. So you find people who know how to do it, and you find people to manage. You're like a Mother Teresa. She's got this big organization, but she didn't develop it. She was just helping kids, and it built up around her. So it could work that way. In other words, you want to be the one taking care of the cows, but this is your vision, and you're getting people to do everything. So you're inspired by it. This is your mission, and somehow you get people to help you. So I think that's important also, because if you're not a leader and then you get in that leadership position, you'll burn out. You might just love taking care of cows, but your inspiration has got all these other people going. And a lot of times it happens like that, right? One person gets inspired, and organizations form around people. They didn't even try to form an organization. It formed around the inspirational vision. But I think that's a secondary question. So, some other missions. I have a few. I want to give you an idea. Let's say, somebody, give me an inspiring mission. It doesn't have to be yours. Just someone could give me an inspiring mission. Yeah. Yes, yes. Okay.
Which group people you are going to help?
Yes, yes.
So I wrote this, I came here, I said, but Krishna, this is work. Everybody said it.
Yes.
To help the most cruel and fallen people.
Oh, okay.
And in the brackets, I wrote Muslim. From Muslim background. And I know what Muslim people are. They are. And especially again towards the ladies, women.
Yeah.
And it's exploiting
Yes.
also as a woman.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So I wrote together this, what you are seeing as your mission. I'm seeing my mission as a protecting the innocent people, means
Yes.
children, women,
Yes.
old people,
Yes.
and also cows.
Yes.
I wrote this, but I cannot even imagine how I can do this. I'm only very small, insignificant part of
By 2 o'clock, you'll have a plan. I hope. At least an idea that's a little more clear. You're also going to have to focus on one of those, because you can't do all, at least not initially. But this is a very good point. Her passion. Passion is the why. What is the why? These people are suffering. These ladies are suffering. Cows are suffering.
And I was one of them. So
Yeah, exactly.
Practical experience of things.
Right.
And I don't want any more for myself. I don't want any other ladies.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I have some good news.
over again.
I have some good news for all of you. Most people support businesses. In other words, buy products from companies that think like they do. So like Apple, their motto is think different. So they appeal to people who are a little out of the box, think differently. And it's not that they're just buying the computer, they're buying the philosophy, right? And people who work for companies that resonate with the reason the company was created work harder and more inspired, and they tend to stay longer. Because, if you're into living off the land and natural living, and you were trained as a pharmacist, and you're working for some big pharmaceutical company, you don't resonate with them. You'd rather work for an Ayurvedic herbal company. So the mission you have, many people are going to resonate with it. When you say, this is what I'm doing, other people are going to say, that's so good. I always thought somebody should be doing that. That's the way you'll gather people. That's my personal experience. That whatever your mission is, there are a group of people out there, it's their mission. They're not going to do anything until somebody's doing something. When someone does something, they're going to gravitate towards you and say, can I help? I love this, I want to do that. Does that make sense? So have that confidence that if it's your mission, if you see the problem and you feel it, there's a lot of other people who see the problem and feel it. And those people are going to want to work with you. And most people they don't go out and do something. They wait for someone else to do something, and then they'll join. So you have a mission you're passionate about, other people will join you. Does that make sense? And let me tell you something else. I don't know if you know this, but you see that there are many programs in ISKCON, and if you've read anything about Prabhupada's life, you've probably read about many of the programs that were going on during Prabhupada's time. But it's not that every program was started by Prabhupada. Many programs were started by devotees. And they said, Prabhupada, I want to do this, can I do it? So it was started by their inspiration. Of course, inspired by Prabhupada, because Prabhupada gave the entire, map, and then they were finding their place on the map. We know the goal is to make people Krishna conscious. Prabhupada, what if we do this? What if we get a bus and make a temple? A bus on a temple. That was an inspiration a devotee got, and he wrote to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, this is better than a temple, because this is a temple that goes to the people rather than the people go to the temple. He loved the idea. He said, buses everywhere. Then he was encouraging it, but it was initially it was someone else's idea. Even if you got the idea from Prabhupada, if he didn't tell you specifically to do it, it had to be at some point someone got the inspiration. Like the first Gurukula, it was started by a devotee who read that children should go to Gurukula from the age of 5. and he got inspired to do it. So you could say Prabhupada started it, but it was indirect. It was an inspiration, right? So just so you know, if you're thinking, but what about all these programs? Are they bona fide? It wasn't going on during Prabhupada's time. Just so you know, many, many programs were creations of devotees. In fact, we were extremely creative because Prabhupada encouraged that. He just said, spread Krishna consciousness, that's the general mission. Now how are you going to do that? That's up to you. He would say, strain your brain. Strain your brain means come up with creative ways to do it. So that's what ISKCON was like in the early days. It was extremely creative. Just creative ways just to do the Sunday feast. How can we do it better? Little things. So these creations were because we saw problems. And that problems needed to be solved. Does that make sense? So, what problem were you created to solve? Are there a lot of problems in ISKCON? There's too many problems, and that means there's a service. There's service for everybody in solving one of those problems. Does ISKCON have enough counselors? No. Does ISKCON have enough money? No. Does ISKCON have enough qualified this or that or teachers? No. Does ISKCON have enough brahmacharya ashrams? No. Does ISKCON have really well organized, trained brahmacharya ashrams? Not that many. So, you go down the list and there's, it's so funny because one of the things I teach is when you see a problem, there's two responses. One is complain and one is, oh, I have a service. Isn't it? Those are the two responses? Oh, ISKCON, blah, 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 blah. And then you just complain to everybody. Or you think, I saw that problem, maybe that's my service. Maybe because I saw it, like she says, everybody sees it, but they don't care. Sometimes not even everybody sees it. Just like there's dirt on the ground, does everybody see it? There's litter on the ground, everyone's walking over it. Somebody sees it and thinks, why don't we have dustbins all around? Because there's trash, right? Or why aren't we recycling this or that? Or why are we allowing water to be sold in plastic bottles in the Holy Dham? I want to do something about it. You see a problem. You've all seen plastic bottles. How many have thought we should make plastic bottles illegal in Vrindavan? Not everybody will think like that, but someone will think like that, and they'll be so passionate about it that this is so bad, it's such a bad example. Tourists are coming, we have to make it green and clean, and you get so passionate about it. That's it. That problem is yours. And it bothers you so much, you have to do something. Otherwise, if you don't, you're going to complain, or you should just shut up. If you're not going to do anything and you can't get anybody to do it, you just don't talk about it because you're just going to get agitated. You understand? So problems are good because problems provide service. Yes? So, you want to talk more about this? Or are any of you not feeling confident you could write your mission now? You need to talk about it more? You're going to get a partner, and you can either write it and talk about it and write it, but it's important in creating this mission that you're able to dream a little bit. Because you want to, like I'm saying, it may not be complete in your lifetime, but you want to get a picture of it. Krishna Kirtan's got brahmacharini ashrams, nanacharini ashrams everywhere in the world. That's her vision. She might only be able to do it in Vrindavan in her lifetime, but her vision is the world. And somebody, if she has that vision, she can hand that vision over to the next generation. And one day somebody's going to come along and say, I like your vision. So maybe you should get a partner and start discussing, and just discuss your vision, get it clear, get it to the point where you can write it down. And if whatever you need to do, however long you need to talk, some of you will need to talk, some of you won't. And then those of you who weren't here yesterday, we have handouts for you. We want you to do this exercise. And after you do this exercise, it will bring you up to speed. So, do we have any questions on this? Aren't there two? There's another one. Can you pass these out? So the 2 pages and then 1 page. So if you weren't here yesterday, we're giving you 2 handouts. One has 2 pages, one has 1 page. So do the 2-page first. And then after that, and then find a partner with someone who wasn't here, and then you can discuss, because this is meant to be discussed. So raise your hand and we'll give it to you. And then you can go in the back, find a partner, and answer the questions and have a nice discussion. And then everyone else who was here yesterday, you're going to find a partner, and you and your partner are going to create your mission. Is that okay? What if you have 2 missions? You're going to have to choose the one that's most important. Unless they're related, or unless you think you can do both. Or you might say, this is my first mission, when it's complete I'll do. If you want, that's up to you. So let's go around the room and everyone can share their mission and inspire us. You have a microphone? Okay. Why don't we go clockwise? That way everyone will know when their turn is. You're going to inspire us. Haribol? Okay.
So you have to read
You can read it or tell it or whatever you like.
First, I would like to say that I'm doing Food for Life. I started some animal school in Vrindavan, and it's my service, which I got confirmation and I
Yes, yes.
I'm doing Food for Life since 22 years. And the day after my initiation, my guru gave me that the service, I never stop one day, even if at the beginning I was thinking, why I would give me something like that. I'm not a compassionate person, I don't know how to cook, but then I realized I can organize, manage, and things like that. So at this point, after so many years of school, my mission is, and also because I'm getting old and I want to detach from many other things, is I think already, is to speak about the glory of Srila Prabhupada and his mission to the new generation of Vrindavan. So I'm talking about Rajabhazi. And to speak about the glories of Vrindavan to the donors we have around the world, which are not devotees.
Okay. To speak about Prabhupada to the new generation?
Of Vrindavan,
In Vrindavan?
the children around my school actually.
Oh. To educate the children about the glories of Srila Prabhupada?
Yes.
And educate the world about the glories of Vrindavan?
Yes.
Very nice. There you go.
Yes. I've already started.
You have our blessings.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so my mission is to create a devotee care program for the African devotees in Nairobi.
Oh, nice. Haribol. Fantastic. You're not sure? You didn't have enough time? Her mission is to become a counselor to help devotees solve the most common problems that they face. Is that it? Yes? No, her mission is to become the best counselor ever. Vrindavani, yeah. Well, we have to go back here. Come up here. You don't have a mission? All right, tell us you don't have a mission. And tell us why.
I don't have a mission right now.
Because?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? If you had to have a mission, what would it be? If someone had a gun at your head and said, "You don't have a mission, I shoot," what would it be?
It's too big to think about it.
Your mission is to think about your mission?
Right now, my mission is to feel comfortable with myself, and then I will think about anything else.
Okay, so your mission is to get yourself together first. Okay, that's fine. Very well.
My mission is to build love and trust among the devotee in all ISKCON, and to help the devotee become loving, understanding, and then this movement become really like movement of bhakti-yoga, not movement of impersonalists, hard-hearted people, and so many others. So I already did this in my Guru. I was in my Guru 7 years. 96, 2003. Then I don't have problem, but I think that my food was unhappy, and then suddenly decided, I went to some senior devotee and said, please give me blessing to write letter to Jabata Maharaj. So I explained why I want to do this. So they was listening that okay, you just do. So I wrote this letter to Jabata Maharaj, and then I said that if I like you don't have love, you don't have trust, you have very bad social media women management, and the women is very low position of the lady, they don't allow even to give in my group, and 2 more points. So, and I gave this letter to Jabata Maharaj.
Can you maybe move, because the microphone is feeding back.
Yes.
Maybe move around.
I'm sorry. So then for my surprise, after 2 days, Jabata Maharaj, it was announced in Montalarti, in big Ishtagoshti, all residents of Mayapur and management of Mayapur. And then he put on the board all these 5 topics. And then he divided all people into 5 groups and made brainstorm, for all this to find solution. And finally, it was very good feedback and so many ideas. There was so because finally they can speak out what they feel, directly with the management. And finally, Jabata Kasami said, okay, because he has office in Nairobi, he said, okay, you just check up how to do more power. And in the end, he came to me and they said, Tushi, so how you are happy? And I said, Maharaj, I never expect, I just my humble, intention, to somehow to help, but I didn't expect that you take this so seriously. So it was some positive things happen. So I think that this is actually many problem, like why we create this movement for devotee, care about devotee. If you have solved this love and trust, then it's like root all other problem, So there is no need, it's natural, when you see somebody, you can help to somebody. It's like we discussed with Maharishi. It's so simple things, it's so natural. And I give an example like...
Wait.
Yeah, okay.
We just need to know your mission. That was good. Okay, I understand, but we have to go. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Sorry.
I wish to share the essence of Vedic literature on the net in the Francophonie, or the French-speaking people, Francophonie.
Can you say that again? I wish to share the...
I wish to share the essence of Vedic literature, and in France we call it the Grand Classical of India, purpose books.
The essence of Vedic literature in French.
On the internet, to help senior Matatis prepare for death and give them facilities to experience and practice spiritual life in the holy town.
Haribol. She wants to educate all the women who want to live a holy life in Vrindavan. The essence. Get the real thing. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My mission is to go back to my hometown and educate devotees in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada Bhakti program.
What's your hometown?
Vishakhapatnam.
Oh, Vishakhapatnam. Hare Krishna. And?
And then encourage devotees on self-sustenance to live on the farm, and then eventually start Gurukul for the children.
Very nice. She's got a lot of work cut out for her. 3 programs.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Every single day I see my Indians in trouble. They think about only money, roti, kapda or makan. I feel very sorry. I want to help them. If I can give them little Krishna consciousness, probably even if they start doing 1 round,
Yes.
they will get some peace.
Yes.
They'll understand the motto of the world. I mean, why they have come into this world. It's all Prabhupada and Lord Krishna.
So you want to help everyone who comes to Vrindavan chant 1 round a day? Something like that?
I want to go to the villages and pick them up
Oh,
and
okay.
tell them, start doing something. Just
Nice.
1 round. I'm doing that every day, but there was...
Yeah. Go to the villages and get them to chant 1 round. Very nice. Haribol. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. My mission in life is to create, administrate, educational program in language teaching foreign that contributes to development, to self-development, using Vedic literature. Yes.
In a particular place or everywhere?
And yes, I was thinking about where can I put the facilities. I already have one place, but also I would like to work with online facilities,
Yeah.
so that this program can work around the world.
Okay.
Anywhere around the world.
So tell us again what it is.
Is to create, administrate,
To create and
administrate.
and administrate.
Educational program on language teaching,
Foreign language teaching?
foreign language teaching, to contribute to the self-development of and consciousness is awakening consciousness using Vedic literature.
Yeah.
So,
We have, I have a disciple in Mexico, he teaches English. I have a disciple in Mexico, he teaches English. And he uses our philosophy to teach English.
maybe I know him.
Atmananda,
Yeah.
that's what he's doing. And
Like last year, I was talking to him about
Yeah.
he invited me to do something with him, and I was just like, I like the idea, but maybe I will not live in Mexico, maybe, but I don't think so.
we discussed it because I have 2 other disciples there that teach English. So we discussed that concept. Verbal enlightenment. So you get language enlightened. You get enlightened, but learn the language and get enlightened at the same time. Interesting idea. That's what you're thinking? Yeah, it's a great idea. I like it. Thank you. Haribol.
Well, she's a social worker.
What? Oh, you want to introduce yourself first. Your name, where you live? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Bhakti-yoga from California.
From?
Cali, Colombia.
Yeah, okay. Cali, Colombia.
They are English player.
Okay. Okay.
So she's a social worker, so she wants to contribute to devotee care and bhaktas to psychology orientation and life coaching.
Oh, very good. In Colombia? Yeah. Very much needed. Over here. I haven't heard from you. My life mission is to eat prasadam. Yes. You have one? Thinking.
To do books, to university preaching. To do books and university preaching.
University preaching. Oh. To deprogram all the university students who've been programmed with the wrong ideas. Something like that? And give them Prabhupada's books. Yes?
Hare Krishna. So, through propagating a Vedic style of life, like simple living, kind of thinking, I want to minimize, at least minimize the violence which we are observing now in materialistic thinking people around. We are seeing so much violence. To stop the violence against at least the innocent people, like women, children, old people, and especially against the cow killing, So this is farming projects. I think it will be very helpful. So I'm seeing myself in this area, maybe to be creative in this area, just to create some ideas. And I think some people who will work practically will be found to do this.
Thank you.
I'm from Uzbekistan, Muslim country. My name is Satyavati. Satyavati.
Krishna, everyone. My mission statement.
My name is, and I'm from.
My name is Vikramadityan, and I live in Vrindavan. I've been here for the last 6 years. So, my mission statement for now is, and this has been very close to my heart, is to preach to the Westerners who come to Vrindavan. Now,
nice.
the thing is that I've seen this over many years that a lot of Western tourists come on a daily basis, especially to the temple, and they just come, they just enter the temple, they're like, wow, and they just walk out. There's no one preaching to them, there is no one giving them any prasadam, there's no one giving them a book, nothing. Some of the times when I've seen them, like I've just like gone up to them, spoken to them, and my mother Parvati, she gave me this card, this "May I help you" card, and I would just go and talk to them. And whenever I did it, I mean, it was such a good preaching opportunity. I mean, it was a big vacuum being filled, and they'd be very grateful, and they would be, they would want to know more about Prabhupada, about Krishna, and I would show them around, and it would be great. But I wasn't able to do that on a daily basis because I had so many other things going on in my life. I still have a lot of things going on, but this is something very close to my heart that I feel needs to be filled. It's a vacuum that needs to be filled. I mean, we're like preaching so much in the West and giving out books, and people, they just read like a book, like Radhanath Swami's book about Vrindavan. And they want to go to Vrindavan. When they come here to Delhi, they tell the driver, let's go to Vrindavan. They come here, and that's it. There's no one to tell them, they're coming to our home ground, and we need someone, like we need devotees to catch them here and then just, give them, Krishna consciousness, bit of knowledge, bit of prasadam, and that would really help them so much. So, I feel this is a place where I need to do something, where I need to get a bit more serious. Even if I can't do it, I need to get some devotees organized so they can, do that. So that's my Namaste.
Go.
Most of them have a guide with them, right? And the guides tell us, Renito Mataji. We can't even tell them to say the Mahatma.
Yes, but I've seen the guides are like maybe 20-30%. A lot of them, they're just coming on their own. Like what
Okay, most of them, they come in Samadhi with the guide.
I mean,
See, that's my experience since last 7 years.
right. But a lot of the times I've seen like the taxi driver, they just bring them here, they're like, go inside. They just come inside, maybe they don't even go inside the Samadhi.
They heard them like that.
Yeah. And they just come in, and even if there's a guy, like the last 2 times I preached that the guide was there, but the guy had no idea what was happening. He was just there to show them the temple. So then when you preach them about Krishna, about Prabhupada, give them a book. And they want to know, like, and when you take the master's gifts, you show them the books in their own language, they're like wow.
You're a great help.
I mean, but the thing is, which I wanted to ask you, I mean, maybe I'll ask the question later, like there are a few things that I wanted to know how to get into, because there are so many things that I'm doing, but then I have to make this my mission. I really have to tone this down, and if I can't do it, as Prabhu said, get other people to do it, because this is your mission. And there's a question that I made.
Anyway, it's our temple, and we can talk to anyone we want in our temple, so we have to make some arrangement with these guides and talk to them and say, work something out, because they... but the practical stuff will come in the next session. We'll talk about it. Yes?
Hare Krishna, I'm Mahatma, and originally from Mumbai, and since 2011 by grace we've been in Vrindavan. So the mission statement is to attract a lot of people to Sri Vrindavan and have a community of devotees with a lot of Krishna Katha, nourishing Krishna Katha and training, and also eventually to have a farm community with lots of cows so we can live off the land, and serve Srila Prabhupada and Shyam Sundar with fresh vegetables and good milk. So
Jai.
that's the
Hari Bol. It's okay to clap if you're still awake. Yes?
My name is Tribhuvanat Das. I'm from West Africa. My mission statement is to develop intent or desire to study Srila Prabhupada's book.
Establish Prabhupada's.
To study Srila Prabhupada's book, and to also remain always in the association of devotees. And at a particular time, you can go to different places to share, Prabhupada's inspiration.
Oh, that's nice.
In the academic world.
Establish Prabhupada's mood, inspire devotees to understand Prabhupada better. Very good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Basically, I have 3 aims and they are sequential. So, the first one is to fulfill my Dharma.
Wait a minute. Your name and where you're from.
I'm Sridhar and I'm from Hyderabad, South India. I have 3 missions which are pretty much sequential also. The first one is to fulfill my Dharma, which is my Varnashram Dharma, to do the best of my ability. And then second, to support and serve ISKCON, my Guru and Prabhupada, again to the best of my ability. And finally, to develop Krishna prayer.
Hari Bol. My mission is to develop Krishna prema. Wow. Yes. Prabhupada said our mission is to develop Krishna consciousness and to give it. Go back to Godhead and take as many people as you can with you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. My name is Nikhil. I'm from the UK. So I have 2 missions. My first mission is to teach Vedic scripture.
Hold it back a little, yeah.
My first mission is to teach Vedic scripture and to establish an educational institution in Crawley, which is my hometown.
Establish an educational institution in Crawley, which is South London, right? Or outside of London?
Just outside of London.
Just outside of London.
And my second mission is to teach boys to become men.
Oh, very good. Teach boys to become men. How about teaching men to become men? You could add that to your mission also. Thank you. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. My name is Pranjal. I'm from Vrindavan. My mission statement is help young kids, teenagers implement Krishna conscious philosophy in day-to-day life.
Help young kids and teenagers implement Krishna consciousness in their daily life. Very good. Thank you. Haribo. So it's 12 o'clock. We should take a break till about 12:15. It's 12:04. Well, anyway, around 12:15, come back, and then we're going to work on some practical implementation, where we can go from here. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm inspired. Hare Krishna. Because you've already prepared. What usually happens is people have a mission, they don't have a practical plan, and they're not prepared for the obstacles, so they give up on it. And if you give up on your life, then you're going to, if you give up on your mission, you're going to go to the cemetery with all kinds of valuables with you, and you'll add to the jewels of the cemetery. Maybe we should rename this course Cemetery Jewels. You're going to bring all your jewels to the cemetery. And I think another thing that we're going to realize is if you don't get working on your mission in the future, when you finally start it, you're going to kick yourself and say, why did I wait so long? That I can pretty much guarantee you. Either you'll kick yourself, why did I wait so long, or you'll be on your deathbed lamenting you never did it. One of those two. If this is really what you should do and this is your passion, then that's likely what's going to happen if you don't do it, and you won't be satisfied. So we want to, as far as possible, make sure we're going to do it. So when you make a plan, it should be things you can do, not things you can't do. You know, okay, what's the plan? I need $4 million. You know, no, it can't. That can be a long-range plan, but immediately, what can you do? I can't do anything until I have $4 million. So you're not going to do anything. So you don't want to plan like that. You know, like what could I do? Like, what could I do when I walk out of this room? And I can tell you what you can do. You can write the plan out in more detail. You can make a business plan. You can tell somebody, I want to tell you about my mission. This is what it's the idea is anything you can do that brings you closer. And one of the greatest lessons that I learned personally, I think it's one of the greatest lessons, is when you have a goal, you have to look at each day that you live and say, what did I do today that got me closer to this goal? And if every day you've done something that's gotten you closer to the goal, you're getting there. Yes? And eventually your whole life will be dedicated to it. And so all day, that's all you're doing. But when you're not there, at least do something. Because the problem with many of us is we have goals, but we don't do anything to get there. And they just remain ideas. Oh yeah, this is my idea. Do you know anybody who's like had an idea 10 years ago and they're still talking about it? And they haven't done anything? That's the problem. Even if it's little. And the experience I had with this is the little that you do every day builds up momentum. And so there's this gravitational force to get going. So that's why I say you could do anything, even if it's just to write down, today I wrote in my book, I plan to be a counselor. That's all I did. But it was something that got you 1 inch closer. It gave you the determination. I'm going to read an article on counseling today. You did something to improve your ability as a counselor, right? That's all. It doesn't have to be a big thing. This is little things, you know. I'm going to talk to the temple, you know, president about what to do with the Westerners. Can we have a room? Can we have a place? Let's just, you know, it's just, or I'm going to make an appointment to talk about it. I did something today because it's getting closer to my goal. That's it. And I do every day. What can I do? Every other day. That's very important because you will build momentum. And pretty soon, you're going to read a book. Pretty soon, you're going to take a course. Pretty soon, you're going to be counseling just because you did the first thing. You read that one article every day. You watched that one YouTube video about counseling. You read that article, how to get clients. Just any little thing. You found out there's in your country there's a coaching school and they have scholarships, and you wrote them a letter to ask about it. You did something. You didn't take the course, but you wrote the letter. So you're moving towards your goal. It's very important. You agree? It doesn't matter how far you move, as long as you moved. You're going to write a letter to try to solve the problem. It may not solve the problem, but at least you did something, and if it doesn't, then you make a next plan. Okay, what do we do now? That didn't solve the problem. Okay, you had the meeting, you got no response. Everybody said, well, we'll talk about it when Panchagota Prabhu comes back and whenever he comes back. And you're thinking, no, I got to do something. So, you're like, okay, I'm printing cards, and you make this card, and 3 hours a day I'm just going out there, and every Westerner I say I'm going to talk to, at least I'm doing something, right? Hey, I talked to 3 Westerners today. I invited them to my room. We had prasadam, something like that. And then it builds up. And then pretty soon, all of a sudden, 3 years later, we come back and you have tour groups coming, and they're coming to you. And you're the man, and so one thing leads to another, right? So that's what we're going to do. Practical things, how we're going to get it started, the obstacles, and how I'm going to deal with the obstacles. Is that all right? So you can deal this with your partner, you can discuss it and write them down. At least we'll leave with something, right? Something is better than nothing, right? And then you develop it from there. There's so many plans that you can develop. You can meet with other devotees who have experience in this area, clarify, make some strategies. However big you want to go, you can do it. What I did for my company, I created a blueprint, and the way I created the blueprint for the company was to create a website of what I want the company to look like in 5 years. So right now I have a website, and you can go to the website. It's got 25 online courses, paid for courses. It's got 1 retreat every month. It's got 20 free courses. It's got 9 offerings for corporations. It's got counseling programs. It's got yoga teacher training. It's got counseling training. It's got 20 free courses, 25 paid, 7 corporate, and 11 retreats, right? And of all of that, about 10% is actually going on. But you can go there and look and say, this is the vision. Because I wanted to, people say, what are you doing? And I wanted to show something visual. So when they go to the site, they go, wow, this is cool. And I have 12 or 15 books on that site. You actually can see the books for sale. Not one of them is written. But these are all the books that I could write. So it was, you say, you want to be part of this? It's exciting. Can you help? We can design these courses, we can write these books, we can do these. Well, what do you need? Well, I need A, B, C, and D. So that's the way I did it. And I spent about 20 days, about 12 hours a day with 3 other devotees just on that. Nothing tangible yet in terms of those courses. Only a few have been developed. But that was, I think, very important because everybody understands now what I'm doing. So, it could be a picture, you draw a picture, this is what it's going to look like. Or she wants to do Bhakti Shastri, so she gets a picture of Bhakti Shastri students. So this is it, this is what it's going to look like. Anything. It's just you've done something. You've sent an email to 20 people, this is what I want to do. Can you help? You've done something. Do you know anybody in my city who can do this? It just means you're working on it. It's so important. I can't overstress this. If you don't do this, you can easily lose momentum. Does that make sense? So momentum is really important. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Get some plans, look at how you're going to deal with the obstacles, and then how you're going to move forward. Yes? Is that okay? So work it out with your partner. These are general guidelines. You can take your discussion in different directions, but this is basically what we're doing. So, I think it'd be inspiring to hear your plans, your obstacles, and how you're going to deal with them. So, anyone can speak. We can just go in any order. We have a microphone. And that microphone is so loud, if you can hold it a little bit away, it'll be easier to hear. Maybe like this far away.
Thank you so much. I mean, just talking about these 3 points was really enlightening because it gave us some perspective as to where we can go from here and what are the practical steps we need to take. There are 2 questions I wanted to ask you, and I feel it will be relevant for all of us.
Okay.
The first thing is it's more about our subconscious habits, like our paradigms that we're in, actually. Because we're thinking and working every day in a particular pattern, so to say, and then now we have this new goal, our mission, right? And to make that shift subconsciously requires a bit of effort, right? And as you just yesterday mentioned, like you might be very encouraged, all right, this is a great seminar, I'm going to do this, right? Within 2 days, the balloon is goes down. So how to make that paradigm shift from within to ensure that you have these new habits coming into place, and how to keep the momentum going towards that goal?
Well, as you rightly said, sometimes we have subconscious patterns which probably have prevented us in the first place from doing what we should have done, and they may keep preventing us once we know what we should have done. I gave a series of lectures in Mayapur about a year ago on beliefs. So that's a good place to start, because when you study beliefs, one of the things you learn is that you have beliefs you don't even know you have. And when you have patterns are beliefs. Well, they can be good patterns also, not just bad. But anything that's repetitive, especially something you don't want, and you want one thing, but you always end up with another thing, it's likely there's a belief there. So I explained something about that, and there are different strategies for changing beliefs. One sometimes easy strategy is just to act against your subconscious programming. Like, I think I can't do this, and kind of just spin it around. No, I can do this. This is going to be easy. And act that way. Because beliefs change through actions. Because when you think let's say you think you can't do it, but you do it and you're successful, it automatically shifts the belief. Because a lot of beliefs come through things we've done. Like maybe you failed at something, or maybe you failed at many things, and now you have a belief that I can't do anything, I'm just a failure. Because you failed at 3 things, you think you're going to fail at everything else. So if you succeed at 3 things, then you think I'm a success. So sometimes that's easy. I think prayer is also helpful. Say, Krishna, I have this obstacle, this procrastination which is coming from a fear or a belief. You may be conscious of your beliefs. I think also there has to be a very strong desire to achieve the goal, because then you're willing to fight your programming. Because that, have you heard this word homeostasis? Homeostasis means you don't like to change, you like to keep things the same. In the world of self-development, they say, when you have a new goal, you have to change inside. That's where it starts. Because the goal is going to require you to be a little different, or bigger, or better, or just change attitudes. So that's also important. I want to do something and I've been procrastinating. That means something inside is going to have to shift or change. But often the inspiration, like if you're really inspired, it becomes the fuel, the engine force. That's why I was focused so much on getting that inspiration, because that's essentially important. In other words, if you leave here in the framework that if I don't do this, I'm going to go crazy. If I don't do this, I'm going to shoot myself. like I have to do this. That then kind of connects with Krishna as the super soul to start changing you inside, because you have such a strong desire to do it. So I'll give you a little exercise you can do if you want to connect with the belief, if you're not sure. If you see a pattern, then you just ask yourself the question, what would someone have to believe who does this? And you can answer the question many, many times. You'll get many, many answers. Like my wife used to say, we're going to have dinner every night at 6, and a lot of times I would show up at 7, or 6:15, or 6:20, and I would show up and everybody was finished. So it's easy to understand what someone would have to believe to not show up on time. It's not important, I have more important things to do, family's not important, my work's more important. So by asking that question, what would someone have to believe who comes to dinner late? The women get it right away. You don't care about your family. The men, it might take a little longer. Yeah, you got it, right? You don't care about your family. Your wife wants you to come at 6, you come later. So that's an example. So you have to look at your pattern and say, okay, this is my pattern. I make a determination to do it, and then I don't do it. What would someone have to believe who determines to do something, really wants to do it, and they don't? They'd have to believe they're incapable. They have to believe it's difficult. They have to believe that they're young and they can do it later. You just keep going down, and you're going to hit one, and you're going to go, that's it, because it's going to feel right. So the other ones are, it's like, generally, the one you want's in the center, and the other ones are kind of close to the target, but you'll eventually get the target, and when you get it, you actually feel different. You go, that's it. And sometimes when you get it, you can even relate to an event in your life that made you think like, that gave you, now I know when I got that belief. My father used to say this, or I failed at this, and then I got the belief, or I succeeded at this, and it gave me a belief that you don't have to try to be successful. Let me give you an example, just to illustrate this. Of all the things I think I ever did growing up, the one thing I was really good at was golf. I didn't like it, but I was really good at it. And I was so good at it that I could do as well or better than adults who took lessons, and I never took lessons. And that gave me the belief that to be good at something, you either have it or you don't, and you can't learn it. Because these people couldn't learn to be as good as me, and I didn't learn. You see how that created a belief? So then I saw a pattern where I wasn't successful at certain things. And then I realized I had a belief that either you're good or you're not. And if you're not, you won't be. So don't try to learn. You're just not. And then when I realized I had the belief, then I realized it came from golf. Isn't that stupid? It came from an experience in life. So sometimes you can change beliefs just by changing your actions, by acting against what you believe and then getting a result, and then it changes your belief. Like, I'm afraid, I'm scared of Indian men. Well, make a friend. Be friends with an Indian man. You'll stop being afraid of them. It'll change your belief about Indian men. Something like that. Is that helpful at all?
Yes. It's made things a bit more clear. And I have a second question. It's about fear. Yesterday I was talking to a nice devotee, Manaji, who lives above me in my apartment, and because she was wanting to come to this class and she wasn't able to, so I was just discussing the different points I would discuss. So she's been in the movement for about 20 years, and she had this question that, she was always sort of contained, you see. She was always kept in this zone. She was never able to express her true selves. So now she's doing the things that she loved. She moved away from her husband and different things now. So she has this question, which I also think is a question for myself and for many others. Now, she wants to do many things, but she has a fear of rejection, of failure, what people might think.
Okay.
And I feel this is also a general fear, I feel, because let's say we're now on a new mission, we're moving forward. Generally, or ideally, or even in the past, we are trying acharyas, it's always been against the flow of the general things. Actually, let's say you want to do something, you want to like make a new building, right? For the Maharajas, for example. Now the men might have different opinions because initially they might have some objections, some opposition.
Yeah.
But then later on it becomes the general trend. Everyone knows about this ashram, this and that. So initially there might be like some failures, some rejection, and if one is strong, one can overcome all that. But then generally there's a fear, what may happen if this happens, what may happen if if I fail, what may happen if I try to preach and this happens, what happens. So how to get over
Yeah, good question.
fear?
Good question. I can speak a little from my personal experience. And there's a couple thoughts that I had in this thinking process. That if you are really connected with something and you're very certain that it's right, you've really thought about it, you've looked at it, you know this is needed, and there's no doubt in your mind that it's needed, then when people doubt it, it doesn't faze you, because you just understand that they don't understand it as well as you do. And like you said, in the future, everyone will say, yeah, that was a great idea. And I'm going to tell you something funny. This is really funny, and this is a little history of ISKCON. ISKCON was very narrow in the early days, so some wise devotees saw the fanaticism and narrowness and suggested we don't do this and we do that. And because of the narrowness, they were always shot down as being in Maya. Well, yeah, basically they're in Maya. I'm trying to think how else we thought of them. Maybe not Krishna conscious, something like that. And over the years, in seeing ISKCON evolve, I've seen many of those ideas which were considered Maya to be like the new flagship of the GBC. This year, this is the program. And you were an envious snake in 1975, and now there's banners all over ISKCON, devotee care, or Grihastha ashram is really, really important. When, in 75, if you gave too much importance to it, they might think, you're undermining the movement. So you have to, I believe, you have to really have studied the situation, looked at it, maybe even studied it in the material world and how other institutions have gone through different phases, and become very convinced that this is a real issue. And maybe the issue you're dealing with is not really being put under a microscope in the movement yet, but you put it under the microscope. So when the naysayers are there, it doesn't bother you, because in your mind you'll just go, you'll see, don't worry.
I feel a lot of courage is required to go against the wind.
I don't personally think it's courage. I think it's more conviction that it's right. I think that's where you'll get your strength. Now, my other thought about this is that there's a story. A military officer made a very difficult decision, and no one had made this decision for 10 years. Nobody could make it. And it was his turn to try to make the decision. So investigation, research was done, statistics were brought to him, and he didn't study all the statistics. He had a 700-page book, he read 150 pages. He had an hour-and-a-half meeting, and it was scheduled for like all day, and he made the decision. And the other officer said, how could you make this decision? No one's made it for 10 years. You didn't even read the book. You've ended the meeting in an hour and a half. And he said two things. He said, I'm making the decision now because nobody made it. And they said, well, how do you know if it's right? He said, we'll find out. But if you don't make the decision, we'll never find out. So does that make sense? So I made a decision myself that when I'm convinced about something to the core, at least I will be open to prove myself wrong. So if somebody doubts me, I'll say, you may be right, and I'm open to being proved wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, and I really need to do this. But I'm not a die-hard gun-ho that even if I'm wrong, I'm not going to see that I'm wrong. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see the result. I'm going to see if this can work. Now, I think that's super important. And now, another problem is, you may be right, but it's not time yet. ISKCON is not ready for that idea. So it may not succeed that well because they're not ready. You know, there's a lot of things that we may do that don't get so well appreciated. And I've done some of those things. I've had devotees tell me, they'll say, what you're doing, it's going to catch on in the future. But devotees, they don't realize it yet. But I understand what you're doing. So sometimes you have to see that, you know, that maybe it's just we're not ready for it. I see that a lot with the work I do. I see, like, I think actually we're very ready for it, but not all the devotees realize yet that they're ready for it. But as the movement progresses, I think more and more will realize it. And if I have all the programs for them, then when they realize it, I'm ready for them. So I think we have to have that conviction also. And that's just the reality. But the other thing is, if you're inspired, even if it's not externally so successful, this is your Dharma, you're doing it. You're the Brahmin, he teaches, 3 students under a tree. It's okay. You're the farmer, you're farming. You have an acre of land or 1,000. So I think that's important. And then there's a funny saying about fear, is that most people fear doing things they've never done. So it's not justified fear. Okay, I tried this and I'm no good at it, now I'm afraid to do it again. Okay, at least your fear is justified. But I never tried it. Like my daughter says, I can't do that. I said, how do you know? You never tried. So that's always the answer. Was there some other aspect that you were asking?
This was it, really.
That was...
These 2 aspects, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Following up what you said just now, is there a risk that maybe you do things and maybe just because you believe in that, but actually it's not...
yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I would say at our age there's less of a risk because when you're older you know more, you've seen more, and you have a lot of history from which you have, it's like you could say your history is your research. Like I'm a counselor, so by default I'm a counselor. So if you're a counselor, you really get a pulse of the problems people are going through. And if you ask a counselor, what are the problems in ISKCON? They can say, well, mostly it's this. It's like 5 things that occupy 90% of my counseling. So if there's 5 things that occupy 90% of my counseling, and I decide to create courses for each of those 5 things, I'm pretty confident it's needed. I'm pretty confident people will appreciate it because that's my experience. So in things like that, I don't think we have to worry. Because, does that make sense?
Yes, I was thinking of this because one of the obstacles in my mission, like to train the girls, the girls in school, is that I don't have much support of the devotees because the devotee thinks it's just a humanitarian service. But then I'm convinced, so I can go on. And I have actually, funny to say what you said just now, the main support I have, encouragement, is by very senior devotees.
Yeah, that's good.
Americans.
Oh, that's good.
Because they, I don't know,
they think different.
Say, oh, this is the biggest bhakti program, or this is okay. But usually the general devotee, why don't you do something so that people within this know that I need more, why don't you waste time with them, or
yeah.
So busy. And so this is an obstacle for me, but since I've seen I start to understand the culture, the mentality of the person, so
yes.
I feel it's good for me to...
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you're clear. I think that's the main answer. If you're clear, like you're really clear. Look I've counseled for 40 years. Basically 90% of my counseling is these 5 things. I need to write 5 books on each one on this topic. And as soon as the first book comes out, people go, thank you for writing this, I need this. And you go, I know you need it. That's why I wrote it. But there's another thing that's also very important, and I came across this maybe last year, and this teacher said that generally when you start a project, it takes about 3 years to start to see results. And most people expect it's going to happen more quickly, and they give up before the 3 years. I've been working on a project for a very long time, and I'm only working with part-time volunteers, and it goes very slow. I finished a book in December of 2014. It's being published now. We're in 2017. It's like a year and a half. So it's like, well, you know, it had to be edited and laid out and go through generations of covers, and then this, because I don't have a full-time staff. That's so he was right. It takes time. And my company's gradually coming together now, slowly. So I think that's important also, to not get discouraged, to just, you know, realize that's about how long it takes to really get something going if it's big. And if there's not obstacles, probably your program's too small. Isn't it? If there's not obstacles, either your program's too small or you're shooting really low. So there's a saying, better shoot high than fail than shoot low and succeed. Because if you shoot high and fail, at least you're higher up now. And also, if you're inspired, you'll inspire other people. If this is something really, you know, because enthusiasm generates enthusiasm. And I think just knowing that history of so many ideas that came up that were pushed down, that now become, you know, strategic committees for GBC, I think that's really valuable information, because you might be the next one who has the idea. And a lot of times, you know, the strategy is, if you have an idea, don't sit around and wait for the GBC to do it. Just get a few people and do it, right? Sometimes people have ideas and they go, well, you know, we have to have a meeting and get committees and get a GBC approval. And no, just do it. Just go ahead and make it happen. One of my godbrothers said that he observed that many of the programs adopted by temples and GBC were first started by individuals who weren't part of temples. It was their own project, and their own project succeeded, and then the temple saw, this is really good, we should do this. So sometimes you can have great influence on management just by doing a successful program, and they'll ask, can you teach us how to do this? Yes?
Yeah, my question relates to, especially to girls' lives. They have a professional life, which they cater to the life from there. And also they have the services towards ISKCON.
Yes.
So it so happens that when you have one foot there and one foot here, it's a very common phenomenon that you try to neglect one or both of them, because you are neither there nor here. You are neither a full-time devotee nor a full-time karma.
Right.
So the problem is, I mean, this is a very practical problem.
I'm not a full-time karmi, and I'm not a full-time devotee.
Yeah. So even your devotee, even your karmic work is also service. That will do with your Vaishnava. But the feeling is that, okay, you don't have that material passion to carry on with your business, or you don't have that same passion like a full-time devotee to carry on with your business. So you're losing on both ends.
What you should do. He's saying, you're working all day, that's not really exciting. And it's not exciting to be a devotee because you have to work. So it's like, you know, I can't get engaged in full devotional service. So that's discouraging, and I have to work at some job just to make money to pay my bills, and that's not exciting. So what to do? Easy solution. Take sannyas. That'll solve your problem. Don't have a job where you have to work long hours so you can have time for devotional service. The best advice I can give you is that every ashram comes with its pros and cons, and you just have to be accepting of the reality of it and make the best use of it. You can be very Krishna conscious. You'll have a lot of time sucked up in working, that's for sure. It's going to minimize the amount of time, but at least the amount of time you have, you can utilize that as best you can to be Krishna conscious. And pray to Krishna to give you intelligence, how you can have more time. And maybe your business will become so successful, you can hire someone to run it, and then, you work 4 hours a week just overseeing it, and then you have all this time and money to spread Krishna consciousness. So that's something you could work towards to solve that problem. I think that's smart, if you can do it. Isn't it? Yes.
Maharaj, how to handle burnout issues, like if somebody is really just tired or not getting motivated. So how to handle that? Especially people who think they are very analytical and very science-oriented.
I think it's kind of the same process. Kind of like if you could do anything, what would you do? But, what lights you up? What makes you tick? What could you do all day and never get tired? What would you do even if they didn't pay you? Because that's not analytical. It's emotional. If you get too analytical about Varna, you may not connect with it, because it has to resonate with you on an emotional level. If it resonates intellectually but not emotionally, it's probably not going to inspire you. Right? It's like, from doing these exercises, there's certain things you've always thought about that were inspiring, or certain problems that just always came to the forefront. And that's where people need to connect. Within the parameters of ISKCON service, they need to connect with that thing that it gets them up in the morning. Like people sometimes ask the question, what gets you up in the morning? Like, why do you get up every day? What gets you out of bed? And you say, because I have this project and I want to make sure it's successful. That's what gets me out of bed. I want to establish this. I want to have 100 Goshalas in ISKCON before I die. I want to have a television show before. I want to have my own radio station. I want to, whatever. That's what gets me out of bed. So people have to connect with that. And, obviously a lot of times in ISKCON, lack of inspiration will also set in from bad sadhana, right? But bad sadhana is usually a symptom of lack of inspiration and service. So they're very connected, so one affects the other. And you could have great sadhana, but for the next day, you're living in Vrindavan, after 9 o'clock you have nothing to do. So you go like this in the morning, and then in the day you kind of end up down here, and then you come back in the evening, and you get, if you don't have that 8 hours of something that inspires you, it could be reading all day. It could be writing. It doesn't have to be physical. But, that question, it's so easy to think about your Dharma is, what would you do if you had nothing to do? And if a person just says, I wouldn't do anything, then you have to ask the question, or if they say, I don't know, this is a good counseling question. When someone says, I don't know, you ask, well, if you did know, what would you say? And then they'll always say something. I don't know what I would do. Well, if you did know what you would do, what would it be? And just try to help them that way. You could do anything. Like, if you could just do anything, what would inspire you? I don't know. Just get them, well, just think, And some suggestions. Well, like, what? Do you like to cook? Do you like to paint? Do you like to write? Do you like to teach? You like kids? You like cows? You like land? You like building? You like business? What is it? You like to make a movie? Or make an album? Social media work? You like to make videos? What is it? What would inspire you? You like to do like kathas? And when you do that, they'll go, well, I'd always thought it'd be nice to do like katha, but not the Bhagavad-Gita, but I have this other, and you see it's actually in there, and they start coming out, at least I've seen this, going from I don't know to, they start describing the details. No, it wouldn't be like this, I wouldn't sit on a big seat, and they actually have thought of it, and at some point in history, and it just got covered over. I've seen that. It's really amazing to see it when they start coming up with, I don't know, to details, which means they do know. You know, I mean, if someone says, I don't know, it's not true. We all know. It's just we need some help, isn't it? We need some help to get in touch. We all know. So that's where I would start. But it's a great question. To I don't know. Well, if you did know, what would it be? And they always give an answer. Does that help at all? Yeah, okay. So now, it's time for the pizza party. So maybe we're not going to hear from all of you because it's getting late, but can we hear from one or two of you? You know, some practical plans, what you're going to do, A, B, C, D. Get some inspiration, all right? Give him the microphone.
Yes, we are discussing a practical plan, and one was nourishing devotees. I started a weekly program at home where we were calling in devotees and serving prasada and kirtan and discussing Srila Prabhupada's books together. And that stopped for some time. I got some guests and almost 3 weeks, 4 weeks, so I would have arrived that on a practical basis, number one. And number two was my own sadhana. I was discussing with Prabhuji and he gave a great idea to wake up really early and finish my rounds. And that way I'll be happy, in the sense satisfied in following Srila Guru and keeping in track with the number of rounds.
Part of your mission is to get devotees to read Prabhupada's books, it sounds like. Coming together and reading.
Yes.
And that, we had discussed this year at the GBC Sannyasi Guru meeting. It was, I think it was number one concern. Because we thought of the future, and we thought of what's a problem now that's going to have biggest ramification in the future. And the devotee said, people aren't reading Prabhupada's books enough. So just to give a little suggestion, taking that idea, you can get people together reading Prabhupada's books, and everybody starts to get a taste and say, can you do this in your home? Can you get your own group? And wherever you go around the world, can you do it? And so you start these little reading clubs, and you can even get a format, you know, read so many pages, ask a question, have discussion. So that could expand that idea. Is that okay? Or even, same with you. You can expand your idea to temples all over India. You know, this is what we do when Westerners come. And I want to give you a really interesting idea. In the Sikh temples, or maybe the big ones, for Westerners, they're not allowed to go into the temple. They first have to go into a room, and there's a sign there. It says, Westerners not allowed through this gate, go this way. So they go through a room, and then they speak to them about what the temple is and so on and so forth, and then they take them in. So they're not actually allowed to go in. They go through this inauguration sort of, I guess. And so they're totally taken care of, and you don't miss anybody. Isn't that a good idea? So, you know, as you do your projects, you come up with these ideas, and then you can say, and other temples can learn. Say, hey, we did this, it's a really good idea. And every Westerner that comes, we meet them. And you know, you have Western devotees deal with Western devotees, and it really works well. Okay. If we go any further, I'll never stop. So, thank you all for coming. I'm very happy to spend these 3 days in Sri Vrindavan Dham, my favorite place in all the 3 worlds, where I used to live for a few years, and somehow Krishna has brought us to Mayapur for the last 6 years, but I'm always feeling separation from Vrindavan, so I'm always happy to be here, and happy to have spent this 3 days with you. And please feel free to share what you've gotten. And my email, if you want to write it down, I can email you. If you send me your email, I can email you the handouts. And I have an easy email. It's just Mahat, M-A-H-A-T. M-A-H-A-T at AOL.com. Mahat at AOL.com. If you want those 2 questionnaires, maybe I'll also put them on my website, mahatmadas.com. It's my website. But at least you can get them, and you can feel free to share them with other people. And if anyone ever asks you the question, I don't know what I should do, just give them the sheets. Say, answer these questions, that'll help you, right? And a lot of these questions came from a professionally organized workshop, not devotees, by a company, and they did a course called Life Directions. So I think they had like 50 questions. It's just, so a lot of those, what did you like to do as a kid? What lights you up? Those were their questions, but I think they're good questions. Okay? No, it's not a Christian. It's a secular self-development group. And you want to know a funny thing, they had a course called Enlightened Warrior. And Enlightened Warrior was a course about determination, focus, goal setting, achieving what you want, overcoming obstacles. And then after people took the course and they learned how to get what they want, the next thing they said is, but I don't know what I want. They just learned, it wasn't about what do you want, it was about how to get whatever it is you want. And they said, but I don't know what I want. Can you give a course to help us know what what's really important for us? And in the workshop I do on prayer, we have similar exercises to this, but basically to help us understand what to pray for. It's like now you have something to pray for. You have a project to pray for. You have obstacles to overcome and so forth. So we did it like a self-analysis, like what are our needs, what are our obstacles, what lights us up and so on. What devotee would I like to be like, who inspires me, so we could pray. So these kinds of things are, they connect you with your essence. And if you know really what you want and what your obstacles are, then you're connected with prayer. So this is very similar. And the last thought I will leave with you is that of all the 6 human needs, the 2 greatest human needs are the need to grow and the need to contribute. And if you do these 2, all the other needs will be satisfied, and you'll be, at least from the material level, you'll be happy. So you want to make sure that your mission in life fulfills those 2 needs, to grow and contribute. It's very important. And I think all your needs do fulfill those needs, to grow and contribute. But just make sure that those needs are being filled, to grow and contribute. And if you fulfill those needs, then your other needs will all automatically come. The need to be significant, you'll feel good about what you're doing. Variety, you'll meet many people. Connection is another need, you'll have lots of connection. Security, you'll be doing something that's progressively becoming better. So all those needs get filled. So if for some reason your mission is not fulfilling the need to grow and contribute, you're going to have to tweak it a little bit, because it's really important. Because it won't satisfy you if it isn't. You'll feel something lacking. Okay? Is that okay? Thank you very much. We hope to see you again somewhere, somehow. And stay in touch if you like. Tell your friends about it. And Hare Krishna to everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.